Hello. Anybody here?
Hello, yes, everything is all right. You can start.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank
I
you
open
so
the
much.
Q&A session. So let me share my screen and then we will be ready to start. Thank you guys. I don't know how many are out there listening to me, but I hope we have enough. Let's open the Q&A session so you can type any questions during my presentation and I will be happy to include that in my part. So thank you for the possibility, the opportunity to present one of the topics which I really like nowadays. And it's really big challenge for all of us. During the last year, we have changed a lot. And we have moved to the negotiation field, the arena of negotiation, to a virtual environment. And I've been thinking a lot and reading a lot about this topic, and I thought to bring this one to present it for you, so you can also learn something out of it, and maybe you can use it even in your job applicants or any negotiations you will do in the near future. Few words about me. I will not read everything, but the key important aspects is that I have to use on daily basis virtual negotiations, both for selling, which is I would say one of the toughest thing, but also for leading people and to work with the team online, which is equivalently challenging, mostly when we have some personal things and topics to discuss. A part of working at IBM, I also teach at the University, Central European University. I teach there various courses around technology management. And I also teach consultative selling and negotiations, which is one of the courses which has really transformed during the last year. So from scratch, I have to reinvent the whole course to align it to the current needs of the world. My personal goal is to make people who see and listen to me remember at least one thing. And hopefully, you by the end of this 30 minutes, you will stand up and say, today I learned something, and not just learned about something, which means that you already could take away something which is valuable for you. So let's start. So virtual negotiation. So this is a topic for today. There are a lot of articles already written in this field, and I have brought some of the key tips and techniques which you can apply in your everyday negotiations. Before I tell you the tips and tricks, maybe we could recall how it is to be in a virtual meeting nowadays. For you, I'm sure you're familiar with most of these expressions, feelings, emotions. Even now, I had to reboot my system because WebEx had wanted to install the newest version just because before 1 minute before we had to start. So all these challenges are becoming our daily exercises and activities around the world. My favorite picture in virtual meetings is this one, which I'm sure it sounds very familiar to most of you. So how we can hear, we can see, the communication channel is broken, is breaking down, video is not visible, and so on and so on. We have these daily difficulties on every day. The other area which I really enjoy, and I have seen many people also discussing this, is what is the meeting zone, how this has been transformed. Earlier we had a meeting room, we were entering and discussing. Now we have in our flats, we have rearranged everything according to what the camera is seeing. So even in my place, there are things behind the stage you don't see. I would rather not show it to you even. But in reality, I'm happy to expose my virtual negotiation environment to you. So the thing which also changed a lot recently is the way how we dress. So we dress up differently than if we went to work, or to the school or to wherever. So now we can even have different setup on the top, on the below part of our body. So this is really, really funny. And I'm sure even if you don't admit that many of you are applying this technique, that you dress up well on the top and you have something comfortable on the bottom because they don't see you in front of the camera. So there is a very good article, if you look at it, it's at Harvard Business Review, and debating whether the virtual negotiations are less or more effective in creating value when we communicate with our counterparties online. So I have a feeling that it depends. So sometimes, for example, if we have to negotiate contracts, terms and conditions, or to write a document together, in this new virtual setup, it's much easier to collaborate. So we can share our screen, type, or even share the screens and type on the same document by using the technologies behind. So there are areas which definitely we could improve efficiency and effectiveness by moving into virtual environment. But there are a lot of areas where I don't think we can equally create value in a virtual environment. And so let me show you some things. One of the most challenging part of this is that if we are in a room, we know that we set down our laptops, phones, and the competing messages generating technologies which are there around. But in a virtual environment, when I see the other part, when I see the person who I'm negotiating with, I'm not sure what he is observing in his screen. So there can be a lot of open windows, like a chat room, like emails, like browsers. So many various communication channels are competing for my message. So if I want to negotiate with you, then you might be even now looking to various sources parallel to observing also on me. So this is a big challenge, how to attract and grab the attention, and without having the possibility just to look at the person because you don't know what he or she is looking at. The other, and combining this with the law of forgetting, this is my favorite law. I don't know how well is academically proven, but for sure, if you read it, you can be very familiar. So even by the time we finish at 2 o'clock, you go home, you will already forget 50% of what I said. In 2 months from now, if I ask you, what do you remember from this presentation? You will say 75% will be already gone. The fun is that out of the 25% which you will remember, only 60% will be correct in a sense, because you will be adding also things you made up, conclusions you took during my discussion and presentation. So the reality is transforming in a sense. So in order to make sure the transfer of the messages online, you need to apply techniques which are more powerful, which are burning pictures or stories in the mind of the counterpart you are discussing. One other observation which I made is that when we are in a room, we have a multi-channel of communication, even if we don't speak. So we don't have to speak to communicate, because if there are, let's say, three people negotiating with each other, so they can have an eye look on the side, how are doing, what do you think? Oh, this joke was nice. But in the virtual environment, this is much more difficult, because in reality, we are sitting in front of our monitors, and we can see, in reality, we can see all the people, but we don't communicate with various sources. So we have a kind of one-to-multi dimensional communication, like I have in the drawing, that the one who is speaking is communicating to the others, and only rarely we have the bidirectional communication, which I really miss, which I have shown with a blue line, something that could happen in a real-life discussion. That, for example, you ask something and you observe the reactions, and you can just look around to how the others have already also observed this. So having said that, and also the article and the research which Harvard Business has done, is we can clearly state that negotiating virtually tends to leave parties with poorer objective results and feelings. And what I really miss is that we are losing the trust to each other. So trust with people you have been working before in the physical environment can be secured because it was established beforehand. But how can you establish the trust with people you just met first time on virtual environment? How you can apply for a job without having the possibility to meet the counterpart in a face-to-face meeting? So that's really a big dilemma. So this is how I call it the dilemma of trust and honesty. How honest you can be online, how you can trust something you see only in 2 dimensions. I don't know if you observed, but in the virtual negotiation, virtual discussions, we can equally see how people are reacting. So we can read the face expressions. And you know what? I observed that also, that many times people think since they are online, others don't see it so well. But if you have good attention on the counterpart who are negotiating with, you can really discover what is happening, how they react to what you say, what is the face, the body movement. Maybe it's 2-dimensional. You don't feel the chemistry on the same level, but you already can observe because people cannot hide so well in this environment. But the biggest sacrifice, which I really miss, is that you cannot have a deep look in their eyes. So I'm watching to my camera, I'm watching to my camera, I don't know where you watch. So we don't have an eye contact. So the eye contact is really, really something I personally miss, because the eye contact in any deep discussion can really expose a lot of the things. So if the eyes cannot lie, so they can tell a whole story of a life. If you see this picture, you can read what this guy has gone through, even without knowing anything about him. Can you imagine this in a deep negotiation when you want to negotiate a big deal, or you apply for a job and you want to understand the motivation of the employee or the motivation of the employer, and then you cannot have this direct contact, the look in the eyes, and to understand what are the feelings, the emotions behind of the decisions, of the statements, of the saying during the negotiations. So at the end of the day, our key goal is to be able to obtain the trust, mutual from both sides, because these kind of difficulties are equivalently challenging for both participants in any, or all participants in reality in every negotiations. We can have cases which is not only one-to-one, but many-to-many. So how the hell can we obtain the trust? There is no, you can even type if you have any question or ideas, but I will expose now my top 5-6 techniques which I try to apply on every day. I wouldn't say it's not equivalently good as if you would be in a face-to-face discussion, but it definitely can help you increase the level of trust with your counterparts. So obviously the most important to be prepared for the virtual negotiations. And if this is a multi-team negotiation, many-to-many, then you will have to be prepared upfront. And during the preparation, as if we would go to a physical negotiation, we need to agree upon who in our team will be doing what. So by assigning clear roles to the team members, you can define before you enter the virtual room of negotiations, tell that who will be talking, who will be listening, who will be taking notes, who will be orchestrating our team. So if we are many people together, then we need somebody also to orchestrate us. And you know, the fun is that you can agree upfront who will be doing this, but during the discussion, there might be a need that you need to swap roles. So you have to have a plan also for that. So Achilles, I'm talking, so then Tamas will take notes. But if Tamas has to answer a question which was raised, then I take we exchange the roles, and I will be the one taking notes, or I will be the one observing how the counterpart is reacting to what we are saying and how we are saying it. So this is because many times what happens, those who don't speak, they just relax and try to listen generically. So, but if we have proper roles assigned, then we can get an extra advantage out of it. get much more clearly what is the message the other part would like to transfer. The second, which is more technical, I would encourage everybody to invest in this. Buy a big monitor, buy a separate monitor for if you need to present, have a separate monitor where you can see the people. It's always nice to see the faces, even if it's in 2 dimensions. Try to have as big as possible to fit people on this full screen. Sometimes if you have a good connection, a good camera on the other side, you can have the feeling even that you are in the same room. Obviously, it's not the same. You don't feel exactly the same, but you can see much more than having a small monitor where you are following also the presentation and without being able to see the faces. So because we intend to put the faces in a small boxes on the top, so we don't really observe how people are reacting. Another technical recommendation to set a proper light. You remember my very first slide when we said that there are various challenges. People are too close, too far, too dark, too light, or you see only the head of it. You don't see the whole body. So this is definitely also the light is important part of this setup. So invest in a light which has in front of you. You see behind of me, I have a window which has external light, but still I have a stronger light in front of me, which is pointing towards me. And connected to that, by having the proper setup, you try to put your body, the upper part of the body, to be observable on the other side, so they can see also your hands movement, your body movement, and in general, not just only your face in a very close setup. So this is about lighting and how you should set up yourself. But as a technology which can be used during negotiations, is to have a tool where you communicate with your teammates. Obviously, like WebEx now has a chat, has a Q&A. This is for a communication channel with every participant. But what I mean with this, but if you go into a 3-to-3, many-to-many type of negotiations, have a back channel of communication if needed. Obviously, you should not use it like 100%, like people see that you are playing with your phones or whatever. But if you decided before which role we be listening or orchestrating, if somebody has something to share, then he can throw to the rest of the team a quick message, just snapshot or decisions or validating an idea, for example, or a statement. So this could be very important and powerful, that you can increase the level of trust by showing a good team spirit because you are aligned even without having the possibility to discuss. Because if you are in a physical room, you have the possibility to have an eye contact with your peer, with your member of the team members. But in the virtual environment, you don't have that. You remember my arrow of big multi-directional communication? That's obsolete. So you cannot use it so well in the virtual environment. So you need to use something which is replacing that in a sense. The next one is what I think most of us, we are doing it. When I say hide your self-view, I don't mean that hide your camera, because many people don't exposing themselves in the discussion and negotiation because they don't feel comfortable in front of the camera. You don't need to turn off your camera. Many of these online negotiation tools have the possibility where you can turn off your self-view. Why? Because we intend to look at ourselves in the screen. So if we are also on the screen, we look, wow, I have a nice haircut today. I need to align my clothes. And I believe, I don't have any statistics for this, but most of us, at least 60-70%, probably we watch ourselves on the screen instead of watching our counterparts with whom we are negotiating with. If you observe this challenge or problem on yourself, then I encourage you to turn off your self-view. Have your camera on, respect the counterpart during the negotiation, but don't look at yourself. Yes, so don't spend a big portion of the discussion by looking at yourself, how you feel, how you dressed up, and so on. The next rule, I would say, we can say it is in a rule, is a belly rule. Originally, I think it was called belt rule. I call it belly because I have some belly here. But in reality, belt rule means that as if you would be in the physical environment, when you always look at the party who you're negotiating with. So with the virtual environment, you should keep your belt pointing towards the camera. So it means that you are in front of what is happening. And so this belt can always show you, because many times we see cameras like people are talking to somewhere else and they have this on the camera on the side, or so that's not proper. So you should have the camera and the belt, your body to look at the camera side to have a better view. Regarding timing, we still have 5 minutes, but also I have a recommendation about timing. I always try to keep our discussions, negotiations between 15 to 30 minutes. But obviously there are cases when you need more time. So you need to discuss more deep. Even though if that's the case, I still recommend keep every negotiation within the boundaries of 45 minutes. Don't spend more, because you should respect each other to give some time for the other party or also yourself to have a bio break or to have a few moments to stretch out and relax a bit before you enter in the next negotiations. Why? Because nowadays we are going from one meeting, virtual meeting, to the next one. So by this unwritten rule, we can be more comfortable. And I don't know how directly this would connect to trust, but definitely I would lose the trust if somebody takes more time than what we have planned, instead without giving me any moment for refreshing myself before I enter to the next meeting. So these are my top 5-6 rules and recommendations for you. You can take away and use and try them. So they are very powerful. And since also we have to enter in the virtual negotiations many times, when you apply for a job, when you have a meeting, there are many cases when this is really the first time you meet online. So don't forget a rule, which I always say to the students who are entering to a room to negotiate with a counterpart in any form. This applies also to the virtual environment. So the first impression will also be established in a virtual setup. So, and don't forget, the people are intent to judge the other part based on the first 7 seconds. So there is, you don't have a chance to repeat this first 7 seconds. This is one time 7 seconds. So be prepared for making your first impression. I'm not sure how could I do it today, because I don't know when you started watching at me, but definitely this is something I want you to take away. So having said that, and we are getting close to top on the hour, I have not seen any question online. I hope you could grab the information and take some notes and maybe even try them starting today or tomorrow. Let me show you my personal transformation during the year. So this is my virtual negotiation environment setup with multi-camera slides, since I have to use it daily for 6 to 10 hours and every day, maybe sometimes even the weekends when I have to teach in the university. So thank you so much for your attendance, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Good luck and have a good day for the rest of the day. It was Imre said a question, but it was more like a feedback. Yes. Thank you, Imre, for the feedback.
Achilles,
Yes.
do you have some questions? Can you check them?
Where in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, let me check that. I don't see in the. I see one question from Imre, but I don't see other.
Okay. Question. Hello. What could you recommend to follow up after an interview with the hiring manager? After
So what I recommend to
Interview
how
with
to
the
follow
hiring
up with a hiring manager.
manager after an interview. Yeah.
It's a difficult question in a sense because
Yes.
probably most of the people we say we should respect the hiring manager to contact us. And if you apply for multinational organizations, usually it takes some time until they go through to their internal decisions. But a polite connection, just asking how you stand, I don't think it's a bad. Sometimes I have cases when I was looking to onboard people in my team. And it helped if somebody contacted me politely, yes? So not pushy, but what is the decision, how you are doing, but just wondering how you are, because sometimes if you do it well, this can even help you position yourself in the mind of the other person. So this is our goal, how to put our face, our name, our holistically ourselves in the mind of the counterpart. So this is a personal challenge. It's always individual, but I do recommend to contact me politely with a question, email. It can be any kind of channel. Obviously, they are professional. They will answer to your requests. Any questions regarding the negotiations primarily? I don't know why I don't see the questions.
Yeah, there is another question. I don't know, but what are the first steps to create a new contact for selling proposals if you have the virtual possibility only?
That's a tough one. Yes, because even with existing clients, yes, because with existing clients, when we entered in the pandemic, we were cooperating well in existing problems. But until now, most of these problems or projects we have started before are already solved or closed. And now it's always difficult how to reshape, how to re-enter in finding new opportunities, new topics to work on. And this is even more harder if you are kind of entering a new client set without having access to them. I get daily connections on LinkedIn or emails, and it's very pushy. It's very hard to enter in a position where they spend time with you nowadays. So the best is I think you need to gain the trust to be able that the counterparts which you want to contact feel the need to talk with you. And how you do that, if you can find the problem or make an assumption of a problem or a challenge he or she might have and try to answer that. I see that from many communication channels that they get a lot of push messages, but that's like mass sending. I don't think that works. You need to go targeted to understand what is the position of the guy, of the person, of the lady you want to contact, what are hobbies, anything. Do like an exploration before you try to contact to personalize your message. So everybody, even myself, we read all the messages, but sometimes I don't react because if it doesn't touch any of my problems, I don't even take I might not even have the time to say no thanks. Thanks, LinkedIn has this possibility, but people are usually read your messages. So if you have a good personalized message, then you can get a hit. I hope I answered the question. It would be nicer if you can discuss this, but okay. Any other questions do we have? I don't see where you see the questions.
Yes, I think this is the last one. Do you recommend turning on the camera for online job interviews?
That always on. So my rule is always on. So it's respecting the other. So I don't like when we have discussions. Obviously, when we work on a contract, it doesn't matter because our screen will be with the contract. But can you imagine having a screen in front of you and you just see a name, the name tag? So that's embarrassing. So always on. My personal rule: don't bother how you look. So you cannot hide yourself. You can hide it one interview, but even if you get your job, you will have to expose yourself. So this is better to go through this. Obviously, you cannot find the chemistry as you would do it in a physical environment, but still you can create the first impression. You remember I mentioned you have 7 seconds. I think it's more important if this is the first time you meet to prepare for your first 7 seconds, to show professional, relaxed, maybe smile. for 7 seconds. After that, that first impression has gone, so you can be your own, but in the first impression, the first 7 seconds should be as professional as possible. Yes, thank you. Thanks for the question. So it was more on the applying the job, but I'm happy to help also there if I can.
Thank you for your speech. It was really interesting. Would you like to say something else, or?
No, I'm very happy to be here. I wish we could be in a face-to-face location, then because we could have also our eye contacts. But I wish you all good luck and have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.